कि सुनील शास्त्री जी, वहाँ से छोड़ा, members of the Shinde family and friends. I am extremely happy to participate in the centenary celebration of the Eknath and Shinde. We had laid the foundation of food security in India. And that time was a difficult time. That time, the country was living under the acute hunger and severe shortage of the basic food given across. Food insecurity during 1966-67 reached peak, which led the country to buy red wheat and willow flour from the United States agreement that was called as the Free Holy. This was the period when Eknath joined the Ministry of Agriculture in Government of India. Thanks to policy directives and initiative of Eknath and Dr. Shiv, then Minister of Agriculture, who permitted to import tons of Mexican wheat for the technological upgradation of Indian wheat through weeding. They have shown a confidence in the agriculture scientists of the country and encouraged them to infuse Indian wheat. Both are best known as the architect of the Indian modern agricultural policy after the success of their program, which led to record food production, particularly wheat production. As a Minister of Food and Agriculture, they sustained the Indian Green Revolution, an era of self-sufficiency in food, along with two scientists, Dr. Narendra and Dr. Sonia. And one more bureaucrat, and that was Shiv. India then level as a leading role and should throughout food security turn the table and not only become food secure, but also food exporters. Everybody then appreciated the power of genetic science, which has extended soon to achieve a high productivity of rice, millet, and many other foods. India harvested a record food production that was 316 million metric tons in the recent years. I myself recall when I took over in 2004 as responsibility of the Minister of Agriculture and Food and Civil Supply, I recollect I took oath and came to my residence. And the first file which came to me, which I read, and I was very unhappy, very uneasy. And that file was suggesting certain quantity of wheat should be imported from Brazil and United States of America. I just think India is a known country for agriculture. Once upon a time, person like Dr. Swaminathan, Shivraman, Eknath and Shinde, Shiv, they have contributed a lot. They successfully resolved the problem of the food security. And what is this? I got a proposal to import. And that's why I was not ready or eager to sign this particular file. I recollect, welcome, I recollect, I could not clear that file. And then after 2 hours or 3 hours, I got a call from Dr. Uddhav. The file is pending with you? I said, yes. Have you assessed the country's stock position? I said, no. So please assess the country's stock position and then take quick decision. I collected information from FCI and I realized what is the ground level situation. Then I have signed and I decided that this situation has to be changed. This was 2004. In 2014, when I left the responsibility for the Agriculture Ministry, I was very happy, and I will give credit to the Indian farmers and the scientists that the situation was totally changed. Situation was India becomes second largest exporter of wheat in the world. India becomes largest exporter of rice in the world. India becomes largest producer of wheat in the world. India becomes largest producer of horticultural products in the world. That is the situation today. But when Anna Sahib took responsibility, that time the situation was altogether different. The grain stock, in fact, has been substantially improved, but certain major decisions were taken by Anna Sahib and particularly C. Subramanian and Dr. Swaminathan, the situation started changing. There was a position to import certain type of material from some of the countries outside India. In spite of opposition, that time, the firm decision of the policymakers prevailed to get more than 10 German Mexican wheat and simultaneously permitted scientists to read and develop semi-DOS, high-yielding, non-lodging, fertilizer and water-responsive wheat cultivators using Mexican more than 10 germ. And despite of the fact there was objection of the use for the foreign germ to read local cultivators, policymakers like Anna Sahib Shinde prevailed on the use of technology in those days. And looking back at this last 35 years, it's really worthwhile to say and proud that today nation has become reached level to the Food Security Act in the face, and no one in the country needs to go hungry to wait as they have legal right to food. I salute to this awareness of the food security on the occasion of centenary year. Food security is back now on the agenda of many countries, including India. First, COVID-19 induced pandemic for the 2 years, and then the Ukraine-Russia war, coupled with the situations in the climate change, have become the main reason behind it. Policymakers, scientists, politicians are now recalling the free green revolution period when the food security was on the top of the agenda for every government. However, India lately became complacent and started neglecting the development of the science, particularly eugenetics and breeding. We are self-sufficient and hence could not afford driving room suggestions on the how the food could be produced, even so-called idiots with a little knowledge and background of the agriculture, they offer many suggestions. The activism emerged, opposing everything which is linked to the genetic progress, and even dictated the policy agenda to the government. As a result, we made hardly any progress in genetic engineering science application, in spite of the known success of the first biotech crop, that is lychee cotton. We have not permitted our own GM mustard cultivation. What happened now is well known. We are importing illegal oil worth rupees 80,000 crores annually, including which is produced from the GM, soybean and mustard. The climate change effect on the ground this year set alarm bell in these corridors of power, and the first panic reaction was the immediate ban on the export of wheat. Although the government committed to export 10 to 15 metric million tons of the wheat considering to the global situation. This reaction was resulted of the shortfall of the wheat in many countries. Over the last year, nearly 8.5 metric million tons over the expected production this year due to terminal heat and the grace filling the stage at the one March. To avoid the excessive increase in the domestic price up to the level of the global market, governments realized that such inflation would create a political chaos. Agricultural ministry of G7 countries have expressed their deep concern over the India's wheat export ban, as they fear that the global situation will further worsen in the time of war. Global price of the wheat have already skyrocketed, and that was $450 per ton, which is about a 35 rupees per kilo. Not only the Western world, but also the International Monetary Fund pursuing India to reconsider the export ban on the wheat. Amid the series of policy flip-flops, the Indian Prime Minister realized that a new crisis had emerged where food security has been threatened, and because of the issue of the food security, countries which vehemently opposing the genetically altered crops suddenly changed their attitude towards the use of genetic technologies to enable innovation to boost the food security. The genetic technology has been introduced in the British Parliament recently, on the May 25, 2002, to cut the red tape, the support of development of the innovative technologies to grow more resistant, more nutritious, and more productive crops in the wake of climate change. It is hoped that this bill will remove unnecessary barriers to the research and new germ editing technology, which for too long has been held back by EU rules around the genome editing, which focus on legal interpretation rather than science. EU's negotiations toward the genetic technology are responsible for UK's outstanding leading agriculture research institutions to ease the research in this biotechnology. In fact, it is never late to realize that these leading technologies, such genome editing, have a range of benefits which will empower scientists to help farmers and producers to develop crop varieties which beneficially shade in a more efficient and precise way. Recently, 4 nations have decided the GMO wheat safe for consumer, and they are Argentina, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand. The Philippines was also the first country to approve the fencing of so-called golden rice modified to contain beta-carotene. 2 decades after the International Rice Research Institute, that is IRI, received license for the crop. Similarly, drought-tolerant soybean, that is Osachi HV4, is now approved for unrestricted growth and commercialization in the United States of America, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, altogether representing roughly 85% of the global soybean trade, and China to approve the import varieties. Foreseeing the direct impact of the climate change, particularly turbulent heat in the month of March, and subsequently reduction of wheat output this year have now alarmed the policymakers in India. It is realized for the first time that the food security cannot be taken for granted in the future, as early of climate change is now visible on the ground. The current reaction of the government of India to ease the regulation of Environment Protection Act is step forward in the progressive direction. Indian scientists were eagerly waiting for positive sign favoring genome-edited crop as witnessed in other countries. Though the memorandum, the Government of India exempted certain provisions of the E-Fair Rules 1989, which growers the regularly wide safety of genetically modified organisms in India. Certainly, the scientific community is overwhelmed by the decision as many public and private institutions have already developed product by using this technique like a rice variety requiring less water, banana plant fortified with beta content, and several crops followed with tolerance to the pest, disease, climate change, and enhance the nutrition, particularly which is in the five. The technology was put to use the farmers. Hopefully, our regulatory system will inclusive for adopting new genetic technologies used for all stakeholders. In populous countries like India, food security cannot be compromised, and what our leaders like Shinde taught us, we should never forget. And we have to use the technology. Had many not allowed the genes grafting, the resistance, nutrition, and water responsive to use in the wheat and subsequently in the rice to entire scenario of the agriculture would have been that we see around in the neighboring countries. Though Sri Eknath came from villages, he understood the power of the science. He understood the power of the technology and encouraged scientists to achieve food security. So let us not forget what shown by such stalwarts to keep the nation secure in the food, as well as we are likely to become the most populous nation, even surpassing China next year. Promotion of science and technology for the welfare of the farming community would be therefore perfect tribute to the memory of Sri Annasaheb Shinde in present centenary year. I recollect some of the decisions which were taken by government of India, particularly to encourage GM crops in particular states. Even judiciary has taken a different approach. They have put many obstruction restrictions. But ultimately, today or tomorrow, if we are to resolve the issue of the food security, you cannot bypass this modern technology. And Annasaheb Shinde, in those days, was insisting this type of approach in the Ministry of Agriculture that was ultimately held to the nation. Thank you very much.